You ever have one of those moments where the world just pauses? Like time slows down so your brain can process the fact that someone actually said what they just said to you? Yeah, that was me. Glass of sparkling cider in hand. My cheeks flushed from hours of decorating and running errands. Standing in front of 20-something family members I hadn't seen in years. And my mom leans over, real soft, and says, "You're not really part of this family anymore." Hey Reddit, I'm Evan. I'm 31. And this story? It's the reason I haven't answered a single call from my family in over a year. Not because I'm petty, not because I'm bitter, but because sometimes, when people show you who they really are, you don't just listen, you act. Let me back up. I grew up in one of those close-knit families that aren't actually close-knit unless there's food, money, or gossip involved. You know the kind. The family is everything, speeches over Thanksgiving dinner. But if you needed help moving or someone to just listen, suddenly everyone's so busy. My mom, Doreen, is the matriarch. Strong-willed, opinionated, and absolutely obsessed with appearances. You'd think we were royalty based on how she talks about the family name. My dad's quieter, kind of a background character most of the time, always going along with whatever my mom says to keep the peace. Then there's my sister, Nicole, 2 years younger, golden child, poster girl for performative kindness. Sweet smile, knife behind her back. She could convince you to walk into traffic and make you think it was your idea. I used to be close with them. Really, I was the peacemaker growing up. The one who smoothed over fights, wrote birthday cards when others forgot, picked up gifts for out-of-town cousins no one talked to. I guess I thought if I tried hard enough, if I did everything right, maybe they'd actually see me. Not just see me, but value me. When I came out at 25, things shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically. No one screamed or told me to get out. It was more like a slow, passive exclusion. My mom stopped inviting me to her weekly church lunches. Nicole stopped tagging me in photos. At Christmas, everyone got these personalized stockings from my aunt. Everyone except me. Mine was plain red, no name, like a last-minute gas station pickup. I noticed. Of course I did. But I didn't say anything. I told myself they just needed time. I moved to the city a few years ago for work, graphic design. Nothing glamorous, but it pays well, and I like it. I don't visit often, but we talk. Or I should say I talk. I call. I send birthday messages. I offer to help. When Nicole had her first kid, I sent a custom illustration of the baby's name and birth date in this delicate, woodland theme. She never posted it. Never said thank you either. So when the idea of a family reunion came up, I honestly didn't expect to be asked to help. But one day, out of the blue, my mom called me. Full-on call, not a text. That alone should have tipped me off something was up. "Evan, sweetie, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we had a big family get-together? You know, to reconnect. Everyone's been so busy and scattered." I was surprised, skeptical, but I said sure. She went on. "And I thought maybe you could help organize it. You're so good with creative things." The way she said creative made me pause. Like she didn't quite want to say gay, but also didn't know how to compliment me without alluding to it. Still, I let it go. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm deep in planning mode. I took it seriously. Booked a gorgeous local venue, a big garden with string lights, an indoor space for food, and a patio for mingling. I hired a photographer, ordered custom name tags with floral designs and matching color-coded family branches. I even arranged a slideshow with pictures from past holidays, digitized old home videos, and designed personalized gift bags for each family with inside jokes or memories. None of it was cheap. I shelled out nearly $4,000. No one offered to pitch in. Not once. My mom acted like it was expected, like I owed it to her for the honor of organizing it. "I trust your taste," she told me once. "Just make it nice, okay? Nothing too flashy. And nothing too, you know." I knew. I didn't respond. I just added neutral table runners to the shopping cart instead of the rainbow ones I liked. The day of the reunion, I got there 4 hours early. Set up every table myself. Arranged the centerpieces, strung up the fairy lights, and coordinated with the caterer. I even made sure the vegetarian options were separate and labeled, because I remembered Aunt June can't have meat. Nicole showed up 2 hours late with a Starbucks and said, "Oh, cute. I love how it's like rustic Pinterest." Like it was a surprise I could make anything decent. As people arrived, I greeted everyone, handed out gift bags, made jokes, took photos, even helped carry Aunt Rose's walker over the gravel path. My mom flitted around like a politician, taking credit for everything. "Oh yes, I just had to make this happen," she said more than once. Not a single mention of my name. And I still didn't say anything, because I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, doing all this would mean I belonged again. Around 7 p.m., after dinner and games and awkward cousin catch-ups, it was time for the toast. My dad tapped a spoon to a glass. Everyone gathered under the string lights. The slideshow had just ended. Baby photos, graduations, beach trips from the 90s. People were a little teary. It was nice. For a moment, I felt like part of something again. That's when my mom leaned in. She was standing beside me, smiling at everyone. And she whispered, almost kindly, like she was doing me a favor, "You're not really part of this family anymore. But I appreciate the effort." I blinked. At first, I thought I'd misheard her. But then Nicole let out a little snort, this smug, knowing laugh, and said under her breath, "I told you he'd overdo it." My heart dropped. My face felt hot. I looked around. My uncle, who had always been the fun one, the one who used to sneak me candy during long dinners, met my eyes. And then looked away, said nothing. I stood there, frozen, holding the champagne bottle I was supposed to pop. And that's when something inside me just clicked. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just smiled, set the bottle down, walked inside the house, picked up my bag, found the Wi-Fi speaker I'd brought, unplugged it, walked back out, calmly started collecting the centerpieces. Nobody noticed at first. They were too busy laughing at a joke Nicole made about city people and their taste. But when I unplugged the projector, midway through a clip of Grandpa Joe doing the cha-cha, people started turning. I didn't say a word, just smiled, packed my things, and I hadn't even started taking everything back yet. They say when the final straw breaks, it's not always loud. Sometimes it's the smallest thing, the flick of an eye, the half smile after a jab, that cracks you wide open. And after my mom whispered that I wasn't really part of the family anymore, it wasn't the words themselves that undid me. It was how normal it felt to them. Like I should have expected it. Like they were just waiting for me to realize it on my own. I didn't confront anyone right away. That would have made it too real. No, instead I went on autopilot. Packed up my things with the kind of calm that makes people nervous because it doesn't fit the mood they want. I started with the decor, table signs I had custom printed, the photo wall I built from scratch, even the mason jars with twinkling fairy lights that Nicole once called too Etsy. I didn't ask for help, didn't explain. I just moved quietly, methodically, while people slowly realized something was off. "Hey Evan, are you done already?" my cousin Laura asked as I unplugged the speaker I'd lent them for music. "Just cleaning up," I said. Figured I'd get a head start. "Oh," she replied, blinking. "You're not staying for dessert?" Behind her, I saw Nicole whisper something to her husband. He smirked. My mom looked annoyed that people were starting to notice. She stepped closer. "Evan, what are you doing?" she asked, keeping her voice light but tight, like she was trying to control the narrative. "Taking back what I brought," I said evenly. "But the night's not over." I looked at her. Really looked. She wore this polite smile that didn't reach her eyes, the kind of expression that looked good in photos. And suddenly, I wasn't tired. I wasn't sad. I was angry. Not rage angry, not wild and screaming. No, the kind of anger that settles into your bones and makes everything clear. "It was over for me about 10 minutes ago," I said. Then I walked inside and disconnected the slideshow setup, removed the USB with all the family videos, and carefully coiled the cords I'd brought from home. I'd digitized over 100 hours of footage for them. Spent days editing. They didn't even clap when the slideshow ended. Not a thank you. Not a word. I grabbed the labeled gift bags and tucked them into the box I'd stored under the buffet table. Each one had been filled with personal notes, snacks I knew each family liked, printed photos, and little trinkets from their childhoods. I'd spent hours scouring Facebook to find the right memories. Nicole's had a keychain shaped like a dolphin, the same kind she cried over when she lost it at Myrtle Beach in 2004. My mom's had a mini photo album with her wedding pictures restored and printed on linen paper. They hadn't opened a single one. I was halfway out the door when Nicole finally approached me. "Seriously?" she asked. "You're going to make a scene because Mom hurt your feelings?" I turned to her, gift bags in hand. "This isn't a scene. It's a cleanup." "You always do this," she said, folding her arms. "Act like a martyr and expect everyone to worship you for doing basic stuff. It's just a party, right? Just a party I planned, paid for, and ran start to finish. You're so dramatic. I took a breath, then leaned in just slightly and said, at least I'm not a parasite pretending to be a princess. Her face twisted. What did you just say? But I didn't answer. I walked past her, out the door, to my car, and I drove home. I wish that had been the end. But families like mine don't let you walk away clean. Not when they feel embarrassed. Not when they realize the house of cards they built is missing the one person who knew where every card went. The next morning, my phone was full. Missed calls, voicemails, texts, mostly from relatives who had not been there when I needed support. Suddenly, they wanted to know what happened. Why I'd blown up the night. Why I ruined the reunion. My mom hadn't told them what she said. Of course not. She'd just said I had one of my moods. Then came the group chat messages. Mom, I really wish you'd stop being so sensitive. This whole thing is out of control now. Nicole, you humiliated everyone. Especially Mom. Aunt Rose. I just don't understand what was so offensive about a comment between mother and son. Uncle Barry. Not cool, Evan. Everyone's talking about it. Mom, if you wanted attention, there are better ways than holding the family hostage. I didn't respond. And when I didn't respond, they escalated. My mom called my boss. Let that sink in. She called my actual workplace, left a voicemail pretending to be a potential client, and then casually mentioned she was Evan's mother and worried about his mental state after a recent incident. Thankfully, my boss forwarded the message to me and didn't take it seriously, but still. Who does that? I confronted her. Why would you call my job? I demanded over the phone. I was concerned, she said. You left so suddenly. And you were clearly off. You have to admit, Evan, you don't always handle emotions well. You told people I'm not part of this family anymore. She scoffed. That's not what I said. That's exactly what you said. You're twisting it. I was done arguing. You know what, Mom? You win. I'm not part of the family. So don't call me. Don't expect help. And definitely don't expect me to pretend things are fine anymore. She hung up on me. Over the next week, word spread that I was estranged. That I had issues. That I'd abandoned the family over nothing. Nicole posted a photo of the reunion, carefully cropped to remove any trace of my decorations, captioned, "Family is everything. So lucky to have a tribe that loves unconditionally." I stared at that word, unconditionally. What a joke. And then came the betrayal that broke me. One evening, I got a message from a mutual friend of Nicole's, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, but who remembered I was the nice older brother who always brought snacks to soccer practice. Hey, she wrote. Just wanted to say I'm sorry about what happened. I saw the group message. What they said about you was really messed up. I blinked. What group message? She paused, then sent me a screenshot. A group text between Nicole, my mom, and several other relatives. I wasn't in it. But the topic? Me. Nicole. He seriously thinks he's some kind of hero. He's been unbearable since he came out. Always needing praise for everything. Mom. I gave him a chance to reconnect. He clearly doesn't want it. Aunt June. Maybe he just wants to be a victim. Nicole. I hope he enjoys his independence. Because I'm done pretending. Mom, me too. He made his choice. Let him sit in it. There were more. Pages of it. Jokes. Snide remarks. Even one where Nicole mocked the personalized gift bag I gave her, called it gay Etsy garbage. I stared at those messages for a long time. It wasn't just that they didn't appreciate me. It was that they enjoyed tearing me down. They weren't confused, or hurt, or even trying. They were deliberate, cruel, and comfortable with it. That's when something in me snapped. Not the kind of snap that makes you scream. The kind that makes you plan. I realized I'd spent years pouring myself into a family that saw me as nothing more than a convenience. A servant. An outsider with a wallet and a smile. But now they were going to learn what it meant to truly lose me. Not just my help. Not just my effort. But everything I'd ever given. And I mean everything. Because they thought I left quietly. Thought I'd just packed up my candles and jars and walked away. But what they didn't realize is, I never just give. I keep receipts. Literally and figuratively. And what I did next? Well, let's just say they won't forget it. When you spend your whole life being the one who remembers birthdays, answers late-night calls, shows up early and stays late, losing your family doesn't feel like a clean break. It feels like a death. Not a sudden one either. More like something chronic. Something that creeps in slowly and steals little pieces of you until one day, You realize you're just hollow. The first few weeks after the reunion were quiet. Unnaturally so. No passive-aggressive texts, no calls about upcoming events, no fake invitations I knew weren't really meant for me. Just silence. You'd think it would feel peaceful, but it didn't. It felt like floating in space. No gravity, no noise, no anchor. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the slideshow in my head. The songs I chose. The photo of my mom laughing with my dad in 1989 at the beach. Nicole's prom pictures. Baby videos. The hours I spent scanning and restoring water-damaged photos that no one else even knew still existed. All of it felt so stupid now. Like a desperate performance for an audience that never clapped. Worse than the betrayal was the emptiness that followed. I stopped working out. Stopped answering texts from friends. My apartment looked like a tornado hit it. Half-unpacked boxes from the reunion, dishes piling up, even the houseplants I normally baby were starting to wilt. I'd wake up around 11 a.m., stare at the ceiling, and ask myself the same question over and over. Was it really that easy for them to forget me? And the answer, every time, was yes. I didn't tell anyone how bad it got. Not even Lila. Lila's my best friend. We met in college in an art history class we both hated, but only took for the easy credit. She's the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly becomes its nucleus. Loud, warm, a little bit chaotic in the best way. She knew something was wrong, of course. She always does. But I brushed her off. Told her I was just busy. Told her I was over it. She didn't believe me. One night, maybe a month after the reunion, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. Let herself in with the spare key I forgot she still had. I was on the couch, still in the same shirt from the day before, halfway through a bag of cold fries, and watching a documentary I wasn't even paying attention to. She stood there in the doorway for a moment. Didn't say anything. Just looked around. Then she walked into the kitchen, washed the dishes without a word, poured us both a glass of wine, and sat next to me. "You're grieving," she said softly. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was true. More true than anything I'd been willing to admit to myself. "I don't even know what I'm grieving," I said. "They were always like that. I should have known." "Yeah, but you hoped they'd change. That's what hurts." I didn't respond. Just stared at the screen while my throat closed up. She nudged my arm. "You know you don't need them to define your worth, right?" "That's the thing," I said, voice cracking. "I do. Or at least I did. Every holiday, every phone call, every time I paid for something or helped with something, I wasn't just being nice. I was trying to buy my way back in." Lila looked at me for a long moment. Maybe it's time to invest in someone who gives back. The next morning, I made my bed. That probably sounds small. But if you've ever been in a place where nothing feels worth doing, you'll know it's not. Making your bed means you're trying. It means you care enough about your future self to make their day just a little bit easier. That became my new rule. One thing a day. Just one. One load of laundry. One walk around the block. One healthy meal. One call to someone who actually cared. And slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. I threw away the mason jars and twinkle lights from the reunion. Not in a dramatic, angry purge. I just didn't want reminders anymore. I donated the unused decor. Sold the projector and audio equipment I'd bought. Took that money and bought myself a proper desk chair. Something that made me feel grounded. Then I turned my attention to the thing I'd neglected most, my work. I hadn't taken on a freelance client in weeks. My inbox was a mess. But design had always been my anchor, and I missed it. So I opened my laptop, reworked my portfolio, and sent out 5 cold emails to small businesses I liked. Personalized them. Included samples. No desperation, just a simple offer. "Here's what I do. Let me know if you need help." 3 replied. 1 turned into a project. And that project turned into another. By month 2, I had 4 new clients. A consistent income. And, more importantly, a reason to get up in the morning. I also started sharing my work online. Nothing fancy, just before and after images of logos I revamped, social media templates I made for a friend's bakery, little branding guides for nonprofits. It wasn't viral stuff, but it was mine. Authentic, real. People started noticing, commenting, sharing. And one day, I got an email from a local arts nonprofit. They were running a citywide campaign to support LGBTQ+ creatives and wanted to feature someone who did design work that told a story. Someone who combined visuals with meaning. They'd seen my post about rebranding a community center and loved my clean, emotive style. Would you be interested in designing the visuals for our summer series? They asked. I said yes. That campaign, it changed everything. My work was suddenly in galleries, on banners downtown, printed on pamphlets that thousands of people saw. Clients came flooding in, not just for design, but for storytelling. I became the go-to guy for brands who wanted to connect with real people, not just look cool. I even got interviewed for a local podcast. They called me the artist who sees people. I laughed when I heard that, because for most of my life, I just wanted my own family to see me. And now strangers did. Better. Deeper. Lila celebrated every win with me. Took me out for tacos when I landed a new client. Sent me dumb memes when I was stressed. Encouraged me to raise my rates. One night, over drinks, she said, "You know what your family's biggest mistake was? Not realizing you were the glue. Without you, they're just a bunch of people at a table." I smiled. Yeah, but now I'm the glue somewhere else. My phone still buzzed occasionally with texts from relatives I hadn't blocked. Aunt June mostly. Vague messages like, "Hope you're doing okay. We miss you at Sunday dinner. Any chance you'll come to the holiday party?" I never responded. And then, in early spring, something unexpected happened. I got a letter. Not an email. A letter. Handwritten. On floral stationery that I recognized immediately. My mom had used the same design for our graduation cards back in high school. Inside was a single page. "Evan, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to write anyway. Things haven't been the same since the reunion. I miss you." I shouldn't have said what I said. It came out wrong. I was emotional. Nicole misses you too, even if she doesn't say it. I hope we can talk soon. Love. Mom. No apology. No ownership. Just it came out wrong. I sat with the letter for a long time. Reread it. Then folded it back up and slid it into a drawer I no longer open. Because here's the thing they didn't realize. By pushing me out, they set me free. Free from their games. Their silent treatments. Their weaponized guilt. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. I wasn't trying to earn love like it was a prize for good behavior. I was living, fully, unapologetically, and on my terms. But the story doesn't end with me finding peace and riding off into the sunset. Because remember when I said I keep receipts? Yeah, I hadn't forgotten what they did. Not the whispers. Not the smear campaign. Not the group chats that dragged my name through the mud. And I was done being quiet. Because if they thought I'd just vanish after they kicked me while I was down, well, they were about to learn what happens when the glue lets go on purpose. And what I did next? Well, let's just say I gave them exactly what they deserved. They say revenge is best served cold. But honestly, I wasn't trying to be cold. I was just done being warm to people who fed off it and never gave any back. For a while, I didn't even think about getting even. I was too focused on surviving, then rebuilding, then finally, thriving. But success has a funny way of sharpening memories you try to dull. Once you've healed enough to stop hurting, all that's left is clarity. And once I got clear, I realized something. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd mocked me. They used me, erased me, and then twisted the story so I'd look like the unstable one who blew up over nothing. And the only reason they got away with it was because I hadn't fought back. I'd let them take the high ground and the microphone. Not anymore. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to create. And this time, every move would be deliberate. It started with a spreadsheet. Yeah, I know. Not exactly a blockbuster opening. But spreadsheets are how I process chaos. I opened up Google Sheets and titled the document, The Reckoning. Just for fun. Column by column, I laid it all out. Every item I paid for at the reunion, every project I did for them in the past 5 years, every design, edit, gift, donation, and favor. Custom wedding invites for Nicole, $1,250 worth of time and materials. Grandpa Joe's memorial slideshow, 36 hours of scanning and editing, never reimbursed. Even smaller stuff, like the time I paid for my mom's roof repair after she forgot her PIN and begged me to cover it just until Friday, made the list. The grand total came to just under $11,000 in unpaid time, labor, and out-of-pocket expenses. $11,000, not counting the emotional cost. But this wasn't about getting the money back. It was about proving a point. I didn't want an apology anymore. I wanted acknowledgement. And since they wouldn't give it to me, I'd make them feel it another way. While working with the LGBTQ+ arts nonprofit, I met a woman named Sabrina who ran a popular online magazine centered on community stories, specifically stories about gaslighting, family estrangement, and reclaiming your voice. We got to talking during a gallery event, and I casually told her a PG-rated version of what had happened. She blinked when I finished. Wait, they actually said you're not part of the family, after you planned the whole thing? Right before the toast. And they let you leave without saying anything? They laughed. Her jaw dropped. Oh, you need to write this. Like, publicly. People need to hear this. I hesitated. I wasn't trying to go viral. I don't want it to be a pity piece. It won't be, she said. Not if you tell it like it is. And you don't have to name names. But there are so many people out there who think they're crazy for being hurt by stuff like this. If you put it out there, it might help someone. That night, I started writing. Not just the story of the reunion, but everything. Growing up in a house where appearances were everything. Being told I was too sensitive every time I cried as a kid. Coming out and watching the warmth fade from their eyes like I'd committed a crime. Years of giving, hoping, performing. And the final, brutal realization, no matter what I did, it was never going to be enough. It took me a few weeks to get it right. To strike the tone I wanted. Honest, but not angry. Emotional, but not desperate. I sent it to Sabrina, and she published it under a pseudonym. The Ghost at the Family Table. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't even share it on my main account. But the internet has a funny way of finding stories that need to be seen. Within a few days, the piece was everywhere. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People from all walks of life telling their stories. About families who erased them. About gaslighting. About the grief that comes not from death, but from being alive and unwanted. A few days later, a well-known self-help influencer reposted it with the caption, "If you've ever wondered what silent cruelty looks like, read this." The part about the gift bags broke me. Suddenly, my quiet little essay was blowing up. I started getting messages from strangers thanking me. One woman said she read it while hiding in her car after a fight with her mom. Another said it helped her finally block her toxic brother after years of manipulation. And then, someone from my hometown shared it. That's when things got interesting. My cousin Jared, one of the few I still kind of liked, texted me a screenshot. "Hey, is this you? My friend just posted this on Facebook, and I swear it sounds like what happened at the reunion." I replied with a shrug emoji. He called me. "Bro, I'm not judging you at all. Just tell me, did you write this?" "I wrote a story," I said. Didn't say it was about anyone in particular. Jared was quiet for a second. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I always thought what happened to you was messed up, but I didn't know it was that bad. I'm sorry, man. I should have said something that night." That small moment, it lit a spark in me. Because for the first time, someone on the inside admitted it. And once Jared cracked, others followed. Over the next few weeks, I got DMs from 3 different cousins, one of whom I barely knew. All of them had seen the article. All of them suspected it was me. All of them apologized. And the cherry on top? Nicole's college roommate, who follows me on Instagram from way back, reposted the article on her story and tagged me. Publicly. Suddenly, my carefully veiled anonymity was unraveling. I didn't stop it. Because by now, I had a plan. See, the reunion hadn't just been a social event. I'd taken photos, hundreds of them. Posed, candid, even little interviews with relatives for the slideshow. Most were backed up on my cloud drive. I hadn't looked at them since I left. But now I did. Carefully. Studying each expression, each setup, each moment. And I noticed something interesting. In the final batch of photos, right before the toast, my Uncle Barry is standing behind me, holding a glass of champagne. He's watching my mom whisper to me. The angle's perfect. You can't hear what's being said, obviously, but my reaction is visible. The subtle drop in my smile. The tightness in my shoulders. The way Nicole smirks 2 seconds later. It's all there. I compiled those photos into a private gallery. Then I added a few shots of the decor. The gift bags. The slideshow on the screen. And I wrote captions. Not dramatic ones. Just the facts. Custom gift bags for each family branch. None were opened. This slideshow took 50+ hours to edit. No one clapped. This moment, this is where I was told I'm not really part of the family anymore. I sent the gallery to exactly 4 people. The cousins who had apologized, plus Jared. I didn't ask them to do anything. But they did. Within days, people were talking. Apparently, a few of them confronted Nicole directly. One even asked my mom, in person, what she meant by not really part of the family. She denied everything, of course. Said I was manipulating the narrative. That I'd twisted her words. But the problem with gaslighting is, it stops working when too many people have heard the truth. And now, the truth had legs. Still, this wasn't enough for me. Because while the article and the photos were validating, they were just the first domino. What I really wanted. Accountability. And I knew exactly where to start. Remember how I said I'd done free design work for years? For birthday parties, weddings, fundraisers, church events? Well, I still had the files. The raw PSDs. The invoice drafts. The emails with instructions. Even the contracts some of them signed before they forgot to pay. I wasn't going to sue anyone, but I was going to collect. I drafted polite, professional emails to 3 relatives who'd ghosted me after major unpaid projects. Aunt Rose for her vow renewal booklet, Nicole for her baby shower invitations, and my mom for a church gala flyer I'd built from scratch, and she submitted under her own name. Each email was calm, factual, and included an attached invoice with a note. Hi, name. I realized my records still show an outstanding balance for the design work I completed for an event year. I'm currently doing a full audit of past work, and I'd like to close all open accounts by the end of this quarter. Please find the invoice attached. Payment can be made via PayPal or Zelle. Let me know if you have any questions. Best, Evan. I gave them 2 weeks. 1 paid, 2 didn't. I sent follow-ups. Still nothing. So I escalated. I filed formal claims in small claims court, not because I expected them to show up, but because once you file a claim, it becomes public record. And you can bet certain people in my family didn't like the idea of their names being attached to a court case over stolen design work. Especially not when the article was still trending. Especially not when I had screenshots. And while all this was happening, I was still smiling, still creating, still building something better. Because the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's proving you never needed them to be whole in the first place. But don't worry, I wasn't done yet. Because there was still 1 card left to play. And it was theirs, they just didn't know I'd taken it. Revenge, when done right, doesn't look like rage. It looks like silence. It looks like control. It looks like a smile so calm it unsettles the people who once mocked you. Because they realize they're not in the story anymore. Not as the main characters. Not even as side roles. They're background noise in a chapter they'll never understand. And I was about to write the final chapter. It started with a name. Nicole's daughter, my niece, was about to turn 5. Big party planned. My mom had posted a Facebook invite with her classic over-the-top caption. Family is everything. Can't wait to celebrate our sweet girl's milestone with all the people who love her most. Cute, right? Except I had designed the invitations. Back in December, before the fallout went public, Nicole had asked me to whip something up real quick. A princess-themed event with glitter borders and custom RSVP links. I did it in under 2 hours. Never got paid. Never got thanked. It was just another free favor. At the time, I didn't think twice. Now I saw the opportunity. See, the RSVP system Nicole used? It was built using a free platform I recommended and hosted on my account. I'd created the form, connected it to my Gmail, and technically, the short link on the invite, it pointed to a private subdomain I owned from years ago. They hadn't even changed the password. They were so used to me serving, they didn't notice I still held the keys. I didn't delete the RSVPs. I didn't crash the event. That would have been obvious. Petty. Traceable. Instead, I logged in and made a quiet adjustment. I updated the confirmation message each guest would receive after RSVPing. Originally, it said, "Thanks for your RSVP. We can't wait to celebrate with you on May 17th. Please bring a smile and your party spirit." I changed it to, "Thank you for your RSVP. Just a quick note. Evan, the designer of this invite and planner of the 2023 family reunion, will not be attending, nor was he invited. We appreciate your support as we celebrate." That's it. No slander. No anger. Just context. It was live for 48 hours before Nicole noticed. In that time, over 30 guests saw it. At least 6 reached out to me directly, confused, concerned, and curious. One of Nicole's coworkers even sent me a DM. "Hey, I'm sorry if this is weird, but I just RSVP'd to the party and saw your name on the message. I've followed your design work for a while. I had no idea they treated you like that. You deserve better." The damage? Already done. Nicole called me, screaming. I let it ring. Then she sent a voice message. "You are sick, Evan. I don't know what your problem is, but you're ruining a child's birthday for your own ego. You've crossed a line. I hope you're proud of yourself. I archived it, then logged in and reverted the confirmation message to its original version. That's the thing about revenge. It only needs a moment to land. A single moment of clarity for the right audience, and the truth sticks to them like tar. But that wasn't the final blow. No, that came from the most unexpected source, my mother's church. Remember how I mentioned the gala flyer I made for her church event? The one she submitted under her own name? Well, turns out the church was nominated for a regional award in their diocese for that campaign, specifically because of the flyer's impact. The outreach numbers were great, the graphics were beautiful, and the bishop had taken notice. Guess whose name she submitted for the design work? Her own. Guess who the church committee asked to speak at the award ceremony? Her. And guess who received an email, by accident, from a church staff member asking for the original layered design files to print a poster? Me. Apparently, they still had my old Gmail in their address book from when I built the flyer. The message was simple. Hi Evan. Hope all is well. Can you send over the original design files for the 2022 Giving Gala flyer? We're putting together a slideshow for the award ceremony. You really knocked it out of the park. Thanks again. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to 3 members of the church leadership board. Subject, correction, gala design attribution. Dear name, I appreciate your kind words. However, I feel it's important to clarify that the design in question was created by me, Evan, last name, as a favor to my mother, Doreen. I was not credited, paid, or consulted regarding its nomination. Please ensure the correct attribution is used moving forward. Sincerely, Evan. I attached the original working file and a screenshot of the email from my mom requesting the changes, timestamped. They replied within a day, profusely apologetic. 2 days later, I got a message from someone in the church choir who still followed me on Instagram. Hey, did you hear what happened? Your mom backed out of the award speech. People are saying it's because the board found out she lied about the flyer. Whole committee was shocked. Shocked. I wasn't. That was strike 1. Strike 2 came with a call from a small local paper. One of the writers had read The Ghost at the Family Table and wanted to do a feature on family estrangement and healing. They'd tracked me down via the arts nonprofit and offered a paid interview. I said yes, on one condition, that I could speak under my real name. The article dropped on a Wednesday. Headline: The designer who walked away. How one man reclaimed his worth after being erased by his own family. My photo was there. My name. My work. No aliases. No censorship. And that article? My family saw it. Not just saw it, felt it. I know because my dad, who had said nothing since the reunion, texted me the next morning. I read your article. I don't know what to say. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because the final strike wasn't mine. It came from the very people they tried to impress. See, Nicole's husband's company had just applied for a partnership grant with a diversity-focused tech firm. And guess who sits on the advisory board for that firm? One of the directors from the LGBTQ+ nonprofit I worked with. He recognized the last name, pulled up the article, cross-referenced Nicole's LinkedIn, and called it out. Not to me, to them. The grant didn't go through. Apparently, they cited misalignment with core inclusion values. Nicole's husband sent me a message on LinkedIn 2 days later. Hope you're satisfied. You didn't just burn bridges, you lit the whole forest on fire. I didn't respond, because I wasn't just satisfied. I was done. My final act? I wrote one last email to my mom. Short, precise, final. Mom, I received your letter months ago. I read it. I waited to see if it would be followed by something real. It wasn't. I want you to know that I no longer need anything from you. Not apology. Not recognition. Not love. I have built a life where I am whole without your approval. Please do not contact me again. Evan. She never replied. And that was perfect. Because some endings don't need closure from the people who broke you. They need a door. One you lock from the inside, walk away from, and never return to. I don't miss them. Not really. Because now, when I celebrate something, big or small, I do it with people who see me. Not out of obligation. Not for show. But because they love me. And I finally love me, too. Revenge wasn't the goal. Freedom was. And I got it. In full. Final line. They erased me from the family photo, so I made a new frame, filled it with people who never needed blood to call me theirs, and finally smiled like I meant it.